Welcome at Ask the Professor. I really hope you enjoyed. I did, because you sent a lot of questions, so we are really busy today. I'm sitting here or standing here at the park because we have a COVID-19 problem. I think we have all in the world, so therefore I have to stay here in the park and not going to the track or wherever. It's some restrictions here in Holland, so we hope for the best that we can also join this Ask the Professor session in real track, but let's see if that's possible during this weeks. But okay, let's start with the questions, and I hope I really enjoyed that you are really active in the forums, and I think I just try to give some answers on some questions. All the others we try to give feedback online in the forum or another way, so please check that as well. So let's start with the questions. There was a question about how to use and why we only use in concrete and steel. That's a good question, of course, because everywhere it is used of this type of materials. They are very strong and also they are cheap, and I think exactly that's why we use this, because it is a massive production, so the costs are very low. And how to change this, and that's really a good question. You can use plastics or recycled plastic, we can use recycled concrete, all kind of other things or ideas are there. Even I get questions, why don't we use plastic wheels? I think it's possible, but we have some physical problems, and that's we have to conquer that first before we can use this and implement. So yes, there are possibilities to use different types, like ballast. You can use other types of ballast, but it needs materials who are very strong and go on for a long period, like bridges and the constructions. They have to go on for 40 till 100 years. And what kind of materials can do that? And I think exactly that's the question. And in combination with the costs, yeah, then you can feel that there is only one balance, and that's what we use now. So maybe that will change by the governance or by politics or fee when you use old materials like steel and concrete because of the CO2 footprint. But let's see what will bring in the future. So when we ask, it will change, that's for sure. Another question was about how to use and how to expand railroads or railways in the world. Is it possible, for example, in the USA, to change the culture from going by car into the track and tram and metro and high-speed lines as well? Good question. I think it's not that difficult, because when you look at the costs, everybody has his own car, really self-supporting. You can go exactly from point 1 to point 2 when you like. You don't have to wait, etc., etc. So there have to be more influences than that, and one of the big ones could be the governance, of course. The governance can say, no, we don't like these traffic jams and a lot of cars and CO2 footprints, so why not using, and that's what's happening in the air business as well, like the transport from one city to another city. Why do we use airplanes, for example? And when that's on the governance agenda, then you could say, hey, therefore there will be a change, and why not using high-speed lines as well? But somebody has to pay and invest in that. And that's the big question, because you have a lot of stakeholders, and who is willing to pay for these high-speed lines going from A to B, from one city to another? One benefit is, of course, when you go by train, you go into the city center, because that's historical there. The stations are in the city center, and that helps to go on and go exactly there in the heart of the city. And that's exactly what we need to go downtown. And you cannot build an airport just in the middle of the city. So it's always new airplane or airports have to go out in the city. And then mostly you use already the train to go into downtown. And that's also a strange situation, of course. So it can be directly, but the big question is, it's costly, and who's paying the bill? So think about that. Another question was really funny, but also very serious, because what is the most safety transport we have in the world? And I think exactly that's the railways we have. We are really secure, and everything is based, the engineering, the maintenance, everything is based on zero tolerance on safety. And when you do that very long run, a very long time, with all the people working in the railways, then you see that there is almost no risk. And that's what you see exactly in the numbers. We have almost no problems, no safety issues or collisions, because we have this safety so high on the agenda. So every decision is made on this no problem or safety issues. And that's good, of course, that's a good news. It costs money, but I think we make the right choice to be the right safety and the first one to be safe to travel people and freight, that's the railways. And I think about safety speaking, we're now sitting in the season of autumn. You see the leaves falling down, you see it also here in Holland, and then you have slippery track. And slippery track, there's another question about how to manage this and what can you do with that. Is that really an issue when you have leaves? Yes, the answer is yes. We have really problems with leaves, and also in combination with water, then you get a special third body between wheel and rail, and that's very slippery. It's even more slippery than when you put some soap on the track. So how to avoid this? In the old days you said, okay, get out the leaves, so get out all the trees, so you have to cut them down, and that's it. I think that's not the solution of today. We have very special wheel rail conditioners, friction managers, friction modifiers, and that you can also use inside the train. It's possible. We do that already for 10 years in Holland, very successful. No squeal, very nice for your ears when you go in the station, when trains are going through a switch. So why not use that one and make a different way of managing this slippery track, so you can avoid the weather conditions and the leaves in autumn, so there is no slippery track anymore. So it's possible, but you have the different chains in the full system of train and track and infra management. So also there the governance can make the difference if they are willing to change the system. I think that's the core business. But safety first. The last question for the day was about how we can say we are willing to expand. There is a higher demand of doing transport by people and freight by train. But then you have to expand. And this gives some problems, of course. People in the environment, people are living around the railroads or railways, are not so happy because there's noise, there is some vibrations. So how to handle that? So in Holland we are making a law, you could say, what is really the border, what are the constraints when you talk about vibrations, when you have when it is bothering you or not. And that would be a new law, and then we can say, okay, how to make investments to reduce the vibrations and reduce noise, and how to make this happen in one big balance. But another way is when you have more coaches, for example, and a longer train, there's also a possibility to transport more people, for example, or double stock with freight, what we have in the USA, when you talk about freight trains. But the question is there a possibility that you don't have to change the assets outside in the infra? For example, when you have longer trains, you need a longer platform in the stations. Is this possible? When you talk about wider or higher stock by double-decked passenger trains, for example, is the tunnel suitable for this? All these kinds of questions, it's easy on paper to say, okay, why not? But you have to change maybe old assets like old tunnels where are very tight, because when you have a big tunnel, you have more space, and then you have no problems, of course. But yeah, who is willing to make a big tunnel maybe for the future? Then you have to invest now, and that's always a case, and that's a balance. So I think that's also a case when you like to expand, then you have long-run assets. They will survive for 50 or 80 or 100 years. So how to make this balance that you can say, okay, we rebuild the full track corridor, for example, to have this new way of longer and bigger transport. It's a matter of time, I always say, but okay, sometimes it's not satisfied with this question, but yeah, how to do it in difference. Nobody is willing to throw away a lot of very expensive assets because we say we like to change into a double stock passenger train, for example. So let's see what happens in the future. It will be slow. I think that's the answer. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. I did. Go on with the forum. Get a lot of questions in. So I am also very active. Also my colleagues and my group, we like to give feedback to you. And it's also interesting to see what is the situation in your country, because we can reflect on our country here in Holland. But yeah, what is Holland? It's a very small, tiny country all over the world. So maybe we can see the exchange and how problems are solved or what problems are popping up in other countries. So please do your best, put all your questions in the forum, or see you in the next time with Ask the Professor. Keep on track.